Friendship is one of the purest forms of human connection. It's where trust is born, loyalty is tested, and emotional intimacy flourishes. But the moment we add the question, can men and women just be friends, suddenly the waters get murky. Opinions clash, perspectives diverge, and what should be a simple, beautiful relationship is now a battleground of assumptions, cultural norms, and personal experiences. Some people say, absolutely, yes. They point to lifelong friendships with no romantic entanglement, where support, respect, and companionship thrive without expectation. They say real friendship is built on values, not gender. They believe we're evolved enough, emotionally intelligent enough, to separate platonic love from romantic desire, but others aren't so convinced. They argue that the lines between friendship and attraction can blur, sometimes unintentionally. They claim that deep down, someone often wants more, or might want more in the future. They ask, what happens when one falls for the other? What happens when one gets into a relationship? Does the dynamic really stay the same? And then there's biology, psychology, evolutionary theory. Some experts argue men and women are wired differently, especially when it comes to attraction. Others push back, saying our capacity for discipline, empathy, and boundary setting overrides those instincts. So who's right? Culture plays a role too. In some societies, platonic male-female friendships are common, even encouraged. In others, they're frowned upon, seen as dangerous temptations or emotional affairs waiting to happen. Social conditioning, religious teachings, and personal traumas all shape our answers to this question. And then we have personal stories, friendships that lasted decades, friendships that turned into relationships, and relationships that ended but friendship remained. For every example that proves one side, there's another that disproves it. It's not just a debate about gender, it's a mirror reflecting trust, communication, emotional needs, and the boundaries we set in our lives. Ultimately, this isn't about taking sides. It's about understanding that this question doesn't have one answer. It has many, shaped by our values, our maturity, and our willingness to navigate complexity without fear. The real battle is not just between perspectives, but within ourselves. Friendship is based on values, not gender. At its core, true friendship stems from mutual respect, shared interests, emotional support, and trust. These elements are not exclusive to any particular gender pairing. They are universal human needs. When two individuals, regardless of being male or female, connect over ideas, laughter, goals, or life struggles, a bond begins to form. This bond doesn't require romantic tension or physical attraction to feel meaningful or real. In fact, some of the deepest friendships are built purely on emotional and intellectual compatibility. Many people have experienced friendships where gender was irrelevant because the focus was on companionship, not chemistry. The assumption that men and women are incapable of keeping things platonic undermines the depth of emotional maturity and the strength of human connection. This perspective also diminishes the idea that individuals can exercise self-awareness and emotional control. When two people respect each other's boundaries, when they prioritize the friendship over any fleeting desire, the relationship becomes about something more profound: growth, loyalty, and presence. Friendship thrives when both parties invest in trust and communication. These qualities aren't dependent on sexual orientation, gender identity, or biological makeup. They depend on character. It's entirely possible for a man and woman to be in each other's lives simply because they enjoy each other's company and provide emotional support, with no ulterior motives or hidden feelings. Skepticism around male-female friendships often arises from past experiences, social conditioning, or the belief that one person always catches feelings. But this generalization ignores the many friendships that prove otherwise. Emotional intimacy doesn't always equate to romantic desire. Sometimes a friend is simply a friend, someone who listens, encourages, challenges, and stands by your side without expecting more. These friendships can be just as meaningful, if not more so, than any romantic connection. Attraction can complicate platonic connections. When men and women form close friendships, there's always the possibility that one or both might develop feelings that go beyond the boundaries of platonic care. Emotional intimacy, frequent communication, shared vulnerabilities, and time spent together can sometimes blur the line between friendship and romantic interest, often without either person realizing it right away. What starts as innocent laughter and deep conversations can shift into subtle longing, jealousy, or desire, even if unspoken. This complication doesn't always mean the friendship has to end or that it was never real. It simply introduces a new dynamic, one that requires awareness, honesty, and maturity to navigate. People are not always in control of their emotions, but they are responsible for how they handle them. When one person starts to feel more, but the other doesn't, it creates an imbalance that can lead to emotional confusion or even pain. Unspoken attraction can fester into resentment, awkwardness, or silent hopes that damage the trust and openness once shared. There's also the issue of timing. One might be single while the other is in a relationship. One might have just gone through a breakup and is emotionally vulnerable. These moments can intensify connection and accelerate attraction, especially if the other person offers comfort and understanding. The chemistry doesn't always have to be physical. It can be emotional, intellectual, or even spiritual, and that makes it more complex because the lines aren't always clearly drawn. Even if attraction is never acted upon, its presence can influence behavior, like texting more frequently, seeking attention, or subtly competing with a romantic partner. It can make people question their motives, overthink gestures, or fear being misunderstood. These emotional undercurrents can challenge the authenticity and stability of the friendship in ways that are hard to ignore. Cultural and societal norms influence our beliefs. From an early age, people are taught, often subconsciously, how relationships between men and women are supposed to function. In many cultures, the default assumption is that when a man and woman spend time together, there must be a romantic or sexual intention behind it. Media reinforces this narrative by portraying cross-gender friendships as temporary stages before love develops or as unresolved romantic tension disguised as friendship. These portrayals condition us to expect more than just platonic outcomes. Religious teachings, family values, and community expectations can also shape our comfort level with male-female friendships. In some societies, such friendships are discouraged or seen as inappropriate, regardless of the individual's intentions. A man and a woman sharing a close emotional connection might be met with suspicion, gossip, or judgment. In such environments, maintaining boundaries isn't just a personal responsibility, it becomes a social performance under constant watch. This pressure can make even the most innocent friendships feel controversial or risky. Even in more liberal or progressive cultures, there's often an undercurrent of doubt when it comes to close opposite gender friendships. Friends and partners may question the nature of such relationships, and jealousy or insecurity can be triggered, not because of specific behavior, but because of inherited beliefs about what men and women really want from each other. This social conditioning creates barriers to forming and maintaining genuine connections based on trust and understanding. In professional spaces, too, these cultural beliefs influence how male and female colleagues interact. Fear of misinterpretation or inappropriate assumptions can limit opportunities for mentorship, collaboration, or emotional support. Men may hesitate to bond closely with female coworkers, and women might avoid deep friendships with male peers to avoid judgment or scandal. These hesitations are not always rooted in truth, but in the collective mindset society has nurtured over time. Boundaries and communication define the relationship. The ability for men and women to remain just friends often comes down to how clearly and respectfully they define the nature of their connection. Healthy boundaries are not limitations, they are guidelines that protect emotional well-being and create clarity. Without them, even the most innocent friendship can drift into confusion or emotional entanglement. It's not just about avoiding romantic behavior, it's about openly acknowledging the dynamics of the friendship and being honest about needs, comfort levels, and intentions. Some people are naturally better at setting boundaries, while others struggle due to fear of rejection, conflict, or misinterpretation. When those boundaries are vague or unspoken, misunderstandings can easily arise. One person might view late night conversations, frequent one hangouts, or emotional dependency as signs of deeper interest, while the other sees it as normal friendship behavior. This mismatch in expectations is where complications often begin, and it's where communication becomes essential. Honest communication helps both individuals stay aligned and maintain mutual respect. It allows space for difficult conversations about feelings, discomfort, or changing dynamics. If attraction does arise, addressing it directly rather than burying it creates an opportunity to either reinforce the friendship's boundaries or reevaluate its future. It may not be easy, but it prevents false assumptions and emotional harm. Boundaries also play a key role when either friend enters into a romantic relationship with someone else. What was once casual or deeply personal may now need to shift to respect the new partner's comfort. Transparency with everyone involved can prevent jealousy, protect trust, and ensure that the friendship remains healthy. Ultimately, clear communication and strong boundaries serve as the structure that keeps platonic friendships stable. Even when emotional complexity enters the picture, especially in relationships that span years or evolve through different life stages, there's no universal answer, only personal truth. Every friendship between a man and a woman exists within its own unique context, shaped by personality, past experiences, emotional maturity, values, and boundaries. What works for one pair may be completely different from another. Some people are naturally capable of maintaining deeply connected platonic relationships without ever crossing emotional or physical lines. For others, the feelings become complicated, even if nothing is ever said or done. That complexity doesn't make the friendship less real, it just makes it more human. Beliefs about female friendships are often deeply personal, influenced by individual upbringings, heartbreaks, or previous connections that went off course. One person might believe wholeheartedly that friendships with the opposite sex are possible and enriching. Another might carry wounds from a time when a friendship turned into betrayal or confusion. These beliefs aren't just opinions, they are formed from experience and they carry emotional weight. Some people have close friends of the opposite sex and consider them like siblings, completely free of romantic charge. Others keep a clear distance because they know themselves well enough to recognize emotional triggers or limitations. There are also those who try, only to find themselves conflicted when feelings shift or life circumstances change. And there are friendships that endure it all, feelings, confusion, transitions, and still remain grounded in mutual respect. What's most important is the self-awareness and honesty each person brings into the connection. Understanding your own boundaries, acknowledging your emotional landscape, and respecting the same in others allows the friendship to develop authentically. There may be no simple formula that guarantees success, but there is a clear path when both people are intentional, emotionally aware, and willing to have the necessary conversations about what the friendship is, what it isn't, and what it needs to stay healthy.